Diddy is facing, as you mentioned, several charges, and jury selection for such a famous defendant's case is a complicated process.
Yeah, so joining us now to give us legal background and break everything down for us is entertainment attorney Lisa Bonner. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Okay, so Lisa, let's start with the jury selection. Some potential jurors were actually already doing questionnaires prior to today. How will the selection process work out?
Well, initially they're starting with what's called sequestered questioning, where they have a closed questionnaire with the judge and the lawyers and reporters, and they will go in and question them about highly sensitive information, such as, have you been involved in domestic violence? What is your take with domestic violence? What is your experience with that? So they are doing sequestered questioning because they want to protect the juror's identity in the case that you have such sensitive information exposed. And then they will move, after they do seat 45, then they will move to the traditional voir dire jury selection.
So you mentioned 45 in the jury pool. What potentially could each side be looking for as far as the people selected? What type of people?
Right. So if I'm the defense, I am looking for a man in a high-powered job, someone who might be a little bit more skeptical of the police, somebody that really does not believe in personal accountability. Like, for instance, why would you stay with the juror? Why would you stay with the defendant if he had abused you? If I am the prosecutor, for example, I'm looking for a woman. I am looking for someone who believes in due process. I am looking for someone that might be familiar with sexual and domestic violence, because I am that more sympathetic towards them in that instance. So it's a very gingerly done process, and it's going to take a few days, but they'll get to it by Friday, I believe.
Yeah, I do find the process quite fascinating,
yes,
because it gives you a little bit of a glimpse at the tea leaves and
yeah,
reading exactly where the prosecution is going with this case. Those names, as I mentioned, the celebrity names, who knows why those came up today, but also there were several other facts that came up. The prosecutors say they're not going to focus that much on Albie Shore and his allegations, or Kim Porter. What from this process do you glean out of this case?
I believe from this process, they are looking at really what has happened between the four witnesses that they have. Cassie Ventura is going to be the #1 witness. This entire case hinges on her testimony. They have another male sex worker and two unidentified and unknown witnesses at this point. So that leads me to think that they're going to really focus on people who have firsthand knowledge of what happened at these freak-offs, how these people were coerced, how these victims were, subject to the violence. So they are really going to focus on the complaint and the indictment, and what the defendant said he didn't do, and what the witnesses said that he did do. So that's where they're coming from. I think they're not going to focus on too much outside noise, if you will.
You mentioned potentially by Friday having jury kind of selected. Hypothetically, what could the opening statements for both sides sound like in this courtroom?
The opening statement for the prosecution, they're going to focus on a man who is high-powered, who was used to having the world at his hands, that he was the head of Combs Enterprise, and he really took to violence to resort to people staying in his orbit, right? He would lure these people in with the idea of a glamorous recording contract, and only to have them subjected to violence and financial compensation, or withholding such financial compensation in order to really get them to stay. And the defense is going to say, no, he was